Napheesa Collier is becoming more and more well known for saying some weird stuff when it comes to the negotiations involving this collective bargaining situation that the WNBA and its players are going through right now as we inch closer and closer to a very probable lockout when this season ends. If it goes the way if it continues to go the way it's been going, you can very well see this turning into a lockout. And in the case of Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart, the two founders of Unrivaled, who are both executive board members on the WNBPA, this is a massive conflict of interest. And for those that don't really understand why it is, allow me to explain, which we went in part on Sunday Night Heat, and I wanted to get Ben Daniels' opinion on it, and he actually gave me the realistically that's one of the biggest things right there, is what we talked about, and I'll break it down a little further more in this video where we'll talk about why this is such a big conflict of interest, and how the fact of the matter is they don't either they don't know it is or they I don't even know anymore. They don't know it is or they're denying that it is. But Brianna Stewart actually said it's not a conflict of interest yet, which actually tells you that they know this is a conflict of interest, despite the fact that Napheesa Collier is attacking fans on Instagram. I'm sorry, on X, who are commenting about this. So let's talk about it. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Rudy's Rant, our game, her wins basketball. We're talking facts over feelings. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Appreciate y'all continued support. So ESPN decided to write an article on this. Now, ESPN, by now, doesn't cover the WNBA. I mean, realistically, let's take a look. This is the ESPN page for the WNBA. Of course, City Furniture is following me because I just bought a couch from City Furniture. As you can see, it is in the background. The couch came today. Woo, woo. But let's take a look at this. 3 rookies, 5 first time honorees, highlight all star roster. This is not an article written by who wrote this? I don't even know who wrote this, right? Because it just says ESPN up here. It doesn't say who wrote it. Could it be an AP article? Possibly. Take a look at this. Embarrassed Aces bounce back with win versus the Sun. This is written by Alexa Philippou. Okay, they wrote an article. An actual writer wrote an article. Here we go. Michael Volpo did this one. Collier. Oh, why'd that happen? Oops. Collier. This is written by Kendra Andrews. Fevers Clark to miss fifth straight. This is written by Alexa Philippou. So basically, they're writing all the articles. This is how many they have 12, they have 13 teams. This field level media. What the fuck is field level media? They just took a story from somebody else. Here we go. Associated Press. This is a pretty substantial thing. Ex-interim coach Nikki Blue files lawsuit against Phoenix Mercury. You might want to talk about that. Associated Press wrote that. Myron Metcalf. Okay, whatever. Point being, you have this article right here written by Kendra Andrews on July 5th, talking about this Napheesa Collier denying conflict of interest with unrivaled WNBA roles. So this is the article written, and in this article, Kendra Andrews, who's supposed to be a writer, she's not, but she's supposed to be. She uses Twitter as her source. Now, she works for ESPN. A simple phone call to the Minnesota Lynx requesting a 5-minute conversation with Napheesa Collier can easily be done by ESPN. They are the leader in worldwide sports. It's a phone call. Ask for a comment from Napheesa Collier. She can always decline comment, but you're writing an article about Napheesa Collier and you're using her comments from X on in your article. You're not actually using anything else to write this article. How pathetic is that? Using X. So let's talk about this. Unrivaled co-founder and Women's WNBA Players Association Vice President Napheesa Collier took to social media Saturday afternoon to defend her role in both leagues after an accusation that she and Breanna Stewart have a conflict of interest went viral. So her response was, so let me get this straight. While everyone else was enjoying fireworks, you were thinking about how me and Stewie, of all people, are conspiring to force a lockout that will result in less money year-round for WNBA players. Here's the actual post from someone named Evelyn DR. So let me get this straight. Breanna Stewart, so it's funny, she wrote this and then she replied with the same thing. So typical petty woman shit. Breanna Stewart is WNBPA president. She's not. She's actually the vice president. They're both, I think they're both vice presidents. Napheesa Collier is VP. They co-founded Unrivaled, a league that benefits if there's a WNBA lockout, and they're the ones leading CBA negotiations. How do you negotiate in good faith? Make it make sense. So here you have this, where you see the actual roles. Breanna Stewart is a VP. Napheesa Collier is a VP, actually. Now, Breanna, she actually replied. Collier replied. And with that reply, she ignores the most. Yes, Napheesa Collier, a lockout benefits you. A lockout benefits Unrivaled. Why does a lockout benefit Unrivaled? Because a lockout forces players to play in Unrivaled because they don't have jobs. Outside of maybe a handful of players who don't need it, who can survive it, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. I doubt Angel Reese plays an Unrivaled again next year, by the way. I'd be shocked if she did. Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, Sabrina. Outside of those four, I don't know which players can really afford to not have their paychecks from the WNBA. So what is the benefit for Unrivaled? Oh, now they're going to come to Unrivaled. Now they need a job. Now that maybe allows us to change our course and maybe go from a 3-on-3 league to a 5-on-5 league. That's a possibility. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying the possibility exists. And the two people who benefit more from a lockout than anyone else on the planet are the people that are negotiating this fucking CBA. So those are the two people that have the most to gain by a lockout. Does it mean that they're see, I'm not going to accuse them of not negotiating in good faith. I'm not going to accuse them of that. But there is a conflict of interest. Absolutely there is. They benefit from a lockout more than anybody. Their league benefits from a lockout. Players will have to have somewhere to play. And most people don't want to fly across the world to go play in China or Turkey or Mexico or South America or wherever Australia, wherever. They'd rather play locally, realistically, but not everyone's down for the 3-on-3 style because the 3-on-3 style is gimmick ball. But let's say they lock out and Unrivaled says, you know what, we're gonna make this 5-on-5. That's a great benefit to the Unrivaled league. That's a great benefit to Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart. Without question, it's a benefit to them. It makes them money. It gets them better players. In March, Collier told CBS Sports, we need to talk now that no one wants a lockout, but the players are prepared for any possibility right now. Why would you be prepared for any possibility in March? Your Unrivaled league just ended. Why would you be prepared for that in March for a lockout? How do you get these women to prepare for a lockout? They make $75,000 a year, a large portion of them. Most players probably make under $100,000 in the WNBA. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating. Because all the rookies, anyone under a rookie deal is making less than $100,000. So anyone who was drafted in the last 3 years is making less than $100,000. Recently, several players, including Stewart, have said negotiations have not gone how they wanted. Absolutely frustrated, Stewart told reporters after a shoot-around on July 3rd. Anytime you go back and forth, you're not expecting to hear that yes on the first proposal, but you're expecting to have a conversation. They kind of just ignored everything we said. Yes, as they should. As they should. If you don't provide a real proposal, I'm going to ignore it as well. It's no different than a negotiation when if you have a car accident situation or whatever you want to talk about. A negotiation has to be done in good faith. And if your negotiation tactic is to go ask for 50% of all revenue, because that's what your players have said in the past, they want the same splits that the NBA players get, well, then you're not operating and you're not negotiating in good faith. Your good faith would understand and acquiesce to the fact that your league has lost hundreds of millions of dollars over the last 28 years. And I know you're watching right now as they expand and they get paid hand over fist for franchise fees that you're not going to touch. But that's just in their mind recouping what they've lost. And on top of that, if I'm a WNBA official and I'm sitting here looking at you like, bro, you guys go play in other leagues every year, which is not helpful to our league. So I would sit here and say, if you want to get paid money, then you can't go play elsewhere. You cannot go play in Unrivaled. You cannot go play in China, in Turkey, in Australia. But Collier and Stewart told ESPN that their work for Unrivaled and WNBPA does not create a conflict of interest, but instead helps highlight areas that need improvement. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And you want to know that's bullshit? Because the areas that they think need improvement, they're only been talking about Unrivaled because they got a whole influx of money from simpleton investors who just gave their money away. Their beautiful league idea lost money and they didn't travel anywhere. Think about that for a second. You took an L because they've written these articles about they almost broke even. They were like 8 million short of breaking even, if that's what almost is, from what I've read. It means you took an L. You lost money. You can't give back money to investors because you lost money. You can't give them dividends or whatever you want to call it. You lost bread. It needs improvement? I don't know what needs improvement. You got charter jets. You stay in high-level hotels. These teams are building facilities for you, even though they can't really afford it. They haven't. There's no. I mean, it's not. They can afford it, but it's not money that they've made because of the team to pay for it. Because they're losing bread. They're losing bread constantly. And then Stewart says it's not a conflict yet. I think it's a little bit different. Not a conflict yet. When does it become a conflict, Breanna? When does it become a conflict? The things we can take from Unrivaled are the TV deal and how huge and incredible that was. You gave away half your fucking league to TNT. Come on now. How much percentage of ownership did you give up to TNT to broadcast on TNT, True TV, and all that shit? Real. Let's be real. How much did you give up? You gave up a lot. There's no way that TNT is looking at them numbers saying 200,000 viewers and saying, oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Please. The numbers behind it, like having 3 games per week. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they don't want to play. Like, so three games. First off, they didn't have 3 games per week. They had games on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and each team played twice per week. They didn't play 3 times a week. They played twice per week. So you want less games per week? How long do you want the season to last? You're already complaining about 44 games. You want the season to take 7 months to play 44 games? It can't cross over into the first 2 months of the NBA season. People are constantly paying attention to it. Okay, if you say so. Whether it's Fee or me or someone else at Unrivaled, we understand that's the standard now. The standard? You mean brunch on Sunday, working out for an hour a day? That's the standard. 1 hour workouts. Your training facility is a tent. Like people, go look at the videos that these women were posting about where they did their weightlifting and shit. It looked like a tent. They built a tent for them. They played games in a fucking studio in Doral, Florida. They played in front of a building that seated 850 people. 850 people. And it was not full most of the time. What is she talking about? That's what they expect when they come back to the W? What are you talking about? So what you also want is for the teams to pay for your housing? Because y'all paid for, you got the investors to pay for the housing for the players in Unrivaled. You played in one city. You didn't travel. If you had to travel, you couldn't afford it. You would have lost 3 times. You would forget. I'm just throwing the number out. I'm not exactly sure what the number is. If they got 35 million in seed money and they lost $8 million, if they had been traveling, they would have lost $20 million. If they've been playing city to city on a week to week basis, having to transport all that shit every week at a new facility, oh my God, they would have lost $20 million. Are they going to have a league that perpetually plays in one location? It's preposterous. It's not. This is even the big three travels. They can't afford to travel. At Unrivaled, players were paid an average salary of $220K, provided childcare, and a multi-year television deal. Players also got equity in the league. So what you're telling me now is that every player in the league actually has a conflict of interest. Every player of those first 36 who were selected, who decided to play in the Unrivaled, they all have a conflict of interest. They're all conflicted out because they all benefit if Unrivaled gets more players because they have equity. Again, what that equity is worth, who the fuck knows? It's worth dog shit. Their equity is trash, but it's still a conflict of interest. Their multi-year television deal. Let's see if it's another year after this. 220,000. They haven't shown us the salaries and what every player got paid. They haven't shown that to us. You can bet your ass those replacement players did not make $220,000. But I'd love to see what they actually got paid. But they'll never release that because it's easy to say it when you don't have to prove it. It's easy to say it when you're protected because you're not a unionized league. When you're owned by a sole corporation or ownership, which is basically Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart. They are the owners. They're probably the majority owners of the league or a company under their name. The players got nothing. Come on. They got maybe a half a fucking percent, if that, a tenth of a percent. You can't hand out a percent to every player, 36%, sell a portion of it to TNT and then for television rights. What does that leave you with? You'd be out of your mind. If Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart, the founders of this thing, have given away more than 50% of their league, they're stupid. They're bad at business. They're bad at business. I can only pray that they did not do that. Childcare. Who in that league had a kid? Katie Lou Samuelson, De'Erica Hamby. Who else had a kid in that league? I don't remember Skylar Diggins, but I don't know if the kids were with her. So they paid for babysitting. Okay. Do they pay for babysitting when men play basketball? Just curious. Does the NBA pay for childcare for the men, or do we ignore that because they're making hundreds of millions of dollars? I don't know, but it seems kind of ridiculous that you don't consider childcare for men's basketball players. They were adamant that they did not time the launch of Unrivaled, which began in January to coincide with CBA negotiations. Come on now, of course you did. Of course you did. They were adamant that they did not time the launch of Unrivaled. Let's look at this again. They were adamant that they did not time the launch of Unrivaled, which began in January to coincide with CBA negotiations. Do you believe that? You're born yesterday. Otherwise, they could have waited till next year to start Unrivaled. Because it didn't go out the way they said it was. Because they said they would be traveling this year. They said they would be going city to city this past year. They didn't go anywhere. They were in Miami. The beauty of being in the Players Association, we are here for what's best for the players, and Unrivaled is what's best. And Unrivaled is what's best for the players. Even indirectly, not just the players that are playing for us. We are helping out all players, Collier told ESPN in May. That is the point of the Players Association. So we actually help. It's not a juggling act. It's actually complementary. She continued, I honestly don't even understand that viewpoint of a conflict. Whew. Because again, even though we only employ a certain amount of players, we affect all of the players. I feel like it's an advantage more than a conflict of interest. So you're acknowledging that it's a conflict of interest. I don't even know what the conflict would be. We're making everyone more money. All right. She just told you she thinks it's more of an advantage than a conflict, but that makes it also still a conflict. Okay. This shit is crazy. This is crazy. And this is an article written in ESPN on ESPN that has no interview whatsoever. It's old quotes that date back to March and May. We are in July, and Kendra Andrews pulls a tweet. Instead of calling Napheesa Collier and getting an interview with her to get some comments about this, they don't do that. They're lazy in their reporting. What's new? It's lazy reporting. Like, this is the stuff that people on podcasts do. We look at Twitter, we look at X, because we don't have direct access to these players. We can try, but we'll be told no more often than not. So we use stuff like this. They have access to get the players in interviews. You're ESPN. You have access anytime you want. But Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart are living in a land of delusion, and they're lying. They're flat lying. They know they're lying. Because at the end of the day, they benefit from a lockout more than anything. Now, again, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they are negotiating in bad faith. What I'm saying is they're negotiating in a state of delusion. They think that because of Unrivaled, they should get what they created in Unrivaled. It doesn't work that way. Not when you're $300 million in the hole since 1998. Doesn't work that way. It's just that simple. And you don't get to use Caitlin Clark as your guinea pig of everything in the WNBA, because that's the reality. These owners have the numbers. They know who's watching. They know how many people are watching. They know which player is being watched. And Napheesa Collier, who still plays in largely a half-empty building, even though she might be the best player in the WNBA by many opinions, people still don't give a shit about her. They don't watch her play. 9,000 people attendance. Her television draw sucks. It's ridiculous. And they want to perpetuate this lie. They want to tell you that it's better for all the players. In theory, it could be. In reality, it's really better for them. So y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Do you agree with what I had to say? Do you agree with her? What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what you had to say in the comments. Drop a comment. Again, this is Rudy's Rant, Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball. Come on now.